Hey, what's up, guys? It is Rob, and you know what time it is? It's movie review time, baby. That's right. Continuing on with my paranormal activity movie reviews, we are going to tackle Paranormal Activity 3, the third movie in the series, but it's considered the first movie because it is a full blown prequel. That's right. It takes place 18 years before the events of the first and second film. To be exact, 1988. I love when movies take place in the 80s because I'm an 80s kid. I just love everything about the 80s. But it says right here, discover how the activity began. Now, I will give this movie credit. It tried to be more about the story than the clever camera tricks, setting up the cameras and trying to do this and something's moving. It does have that. Don't get me wrong, it does have that stuff, but I like how it sticks with the characters from the other films, but in a full blown story on how it began. That's what I liked. Um, this is my favorite of the sequels, but that's not saying much because if you watch my first review, I stated that I thought the movie should have been its own film. I thought they should have not made any sequels, but I knew they were going to because it made so much money and it got all hyped up, and that's what happened. But if you talk to anybody, anybody will pretty much say that this is their favorite, or it's their second favorite, or it's their favorite of the sequels. Because if you compare it to the other ones, we'll get into that. But anyway, this is I have it on Blu-ray here, the unrated director's cut, which includes the unrated and theatrical. Um, we have different directors this time: Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman. Came out in 2011. Of course, a found footage supernatural horror film. And it does have the same formula as the others. Of course, you got to stick with that same formula. But what makes this unique is it takes place in the 80s. And if you remember what the camcorders looked like in the 80s, I mean, these huge things that weighed like 40, 50 pounds, you put it on your shoulder and you have a blank VHS tape and you put it in there, you close it, and then, I mean, this thing is just freaking huge. My dad had one, okay, and he never liked me using it because he thought I was going to break it. That thing was like 900 bucks, okay. And my family, we weren't made of money, but that was like my dad's prized possession. But it was also my prized possession because I used it more than he did. The stupid fly. Anyway, this ain't the Amityville Horror. God, do I look like a preacher sitting on a toilet? Come on. Anyway, it was his prized possession. He didn't want me using it. He didn't want it to break. But I started making movies and stuff with it. That's how I got into doing skits and making stuff. But I was so fascinated with the technology. I loved how you could put a blank tape in there, and it was such a wide angle lens. But the thing is, it was so heavy. I was a skinny kid. I couldn't lift that much, but I had that on my shoulder, and there's a little strap right here, nice little microphone that stuck out there. Um, he would even record TV shows off the television with that thing on a blank VHS tape because you could hit record, plug the cables up to the TV, and there you go. Anyway, um, I love. That's why I say I love everything about the '80s: the music, the clothes, the toys, the movies, and also the cameras, the camcorders. But that's what they do in this movie. Basically, you have the story revolving around Katie and Christy as children. And we get to learn about that in the first movie when Katie tells the doctor again, she tells him, you know, when Christy and I were young, I would always see this dark figure at the end of my bed, and Christy did see it. And she would explain that, how they dealt with this all those years. These weird things would always happen. Well, now we get to see it. We actually get to see what they went through. And I like that. I That's the fly on the screen. Oh my god, that's creepy. Here I am talking about paranormal activity and dark figures, and look what appears on the screen. Look at that. That's not me doing it, guys. I'm right here. Look. You're looking at a fly right now. I don't know. Is that the head right here? Is this the head? Oh my God. Get off my camera. Oh, d- oh my God. That scared me. What a perfect time to happen during this review. I guess that was Toby. That was the demon, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. Lost my train of thought. Okay, so the girls, they're going through this. You get to see this, and I thought that was great for a story wise. It's not just like this thing where you're introduced to these characters that go through the exact same thing as what happened in the first two movies. I thought that was, if that was going to happen, that would have been stale. But like I said, it does have some of the same formula. Um, so basically, Katie and Christy have a mom, and she's with this guy. So it'd basically be like, um, I think it'd be their stepdad. But anyway, he, you know, his job is to put together like weddings. Like he films weddings and then he like edits them together to make a movie and stuff like that. He starts to notice like they start to say like things are going wrong, something's going wrong in the house, or things happening, things moving, stuff like that. So he puts up cameras in the house. He makes one. It's just kind of cool. He puts like a VHS camera on a fan that goes back and forth. He takes off the blade and he puts the camera on there to make it swivel like this. That was kind of cool. I was I was kind of impressed by that. I'm like, wow, I never would have thought about that. But like, he puts cameras out, and of course, activity happens. Oh my God! I swear to God, I'm gonna kill that fly. Activity happens, and they catch it on film, and this guy has a friend that comes over, and he sees the stuff on the screen that happens, and they can't really explain it. The mom kind of sees things happening to the girls, like Katie's, like she'll get her hair pulled and she gets drug off. um I guess there are a couple creepy moments in this movie. Um, but all in all, it's mainly about the girls, and I thought the girls did a great job, like acting wise. Christy, she would sit there and talk to the demon, and no one's there. Like she'd just be sitting there talking, and then the mom would come in and be like, "Who are you talking to?" And she's like, "My friend," and she's like, "Don't sit there. That's where he is." And like stuff like that, just you have to kind of use your imagination to oh, there's something there, there's definitely something there. But that's I want to say there are more good things than bad things about this film. But like I said, the good things are the story. I think the story really excels in that way. um but it's cool. You get to see them going through this stuff. The demon is terrorizing them. You can see the effects that it's having on the parents. And then I'm not going to give away the ending, but something happens at the end where someone is involved in this, and they're they kind of give it away in Paranormal Activity 2 when Allie is looking on the internet and she says, "What if Hunter's grand or great grandmother or grandmother made a deal with the demon so she can get rich?" Now, you kind of get to see that play out in this, somewhat. So like that's why you got to pay attention to, I guess, the other films, because when stuff happens, then you're just like, oh well, duh, they talked about it. I'd say like the camera stuff, like the demon appearing and things. I mean, that was some of the stuff was pretty cool. Like in the kitchen, the mom would walk in the kitchen, and the table and like everything would be up on the ceiling, and she didn't even know it until all of a sudden she looks around, there's no furniture, and all of a sudden everything just drops, which is kind of a different thing from the second movie. If you remember the second movie where all the cabinets opened at one time, this was like a step further. Then there was the part where I believe it was the babysitter. She was sitting at the kitchen table, and there's this. figure in a white blanket standing up like a ghost almost. And the figure's like back here. Then when the camera turns, it's closer to the babysitter. And then babysitter turns around. Right when she turns around, the figure disappears and the blanket just drops to the floor. That was a really cool effect. That was cool. Um, the effects were, I have to say, like, they were more creative than Paranormal Activity 2. But it still did not have that creepiness that the first movie had. That's what I think, that's the difference between these sequels. Like, I don't think the sequels were scary at all. Like, I don't think there were a couple moments where it was kind of like, oh, that was a little creepy, but it just didn't have the effect the first one did. The first one would, like, get worse every single night. And in these movies, it's just kind of random. Um, but like I said, it's about the girls, and I appreciate the story. I appreciate the fact that it's a prequel and that we get to see this actually play out. I guess that was the most important thing. Um, but you get to see that there's something deeper about the family. Um, and at the end, it kind of unravels to where you understand um, the direction it's going and how we ended up in the first movie, like how we ended up at that moment. Um, so yeah, this is the best one, like I said, of the sequels. It had a $5 million budget and made 207 million at the box office. So it, yeah, I mean, it made some pretty good money. Being that it's the third film, I think people were looking for something different, and like I said, this does have some of that. I just, like, I just don't know. Like, I just don't think it could match the first one. None of them do. I know they're making a new Paranormal Activity, uh, and if they're gonna do that, and you want to beat the first movie, then make it scary, make it freaking frightening, um, where people will not forget. That's what you need to do. You need to outdo the first one. That's what you need to do, because otherwise it's just going to be the same thing. That's what I felt like Jigsaw did when it came out. To me, Jigsaw felt like another Saw movie. Like, I've already seen that stuff. Spiral looks interesting, but anyway, that's Paranormal Activity 3. My favorite of the sequels, but like I said, not saying much when the first movie is my absolute all time favorite. So, what did you guys think of Paranormal Activity 3? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, stay tuned because next, oh God, we're going to talk about Paranormal Activity 4, the Shit Fest. And yeah, so stay tuned for that. And subscribe for more content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Where's that fly? Oh, now he's gone. He's gone when I'm done with the review. Now he's gone. That's funny. Of course.